What is up? It is day 120 of Read the Bible in a Year, and we're reading. Where are we? It's crazy because I just read yesterday. First Chronicles, chapter 20 through 22. Dive in. And it came to be at the turn of the year, at the time sovereigns go out to battle, that Joab led the power of the army and destroyed the land of the children of Ammon, and came and besieged Rabbah. But David remained at Jerusalem, and Joab struck Rabbah and overthrew it. And David took their sovereign's crown from his head, and found it weighed a talent of gold, and there were precious stones in it. And it was on David's head, and it was set on David's head. And he also brought out the spoil of the city, a very great amount. And he brought out the people who were in it, and put them to work with saws, and with iron picks and axes. And thus David did to all the cities of the children of Ammon. There we go. Then David and all the people returned to Jerusalem, and afterward it came to be that fighting broke out at Gezer with the Philistines. Then Sibbecai the Hushathite struck Sippai of the sons of the giant, and they were humbled. And there was fighting again in the Philistines, and Elhanan son of Yair struck Lami, the brother of Goliath, the Gittite, the shaft of whose spear was like a weaver's beam. And there was fighting again in Gath, where there was a man of great size with 24 fingers and toes, 6 and 6. And he too was born to the giant. So, an indicating factor, he had, rather than 5 fingers on each hand, 6 fingers on each hand, and each 6 toes on each foot. And he reproached Israel, and Jonathan, son of Shammah, David's brother, struck him. These were born to the giant in Gath, and they fell by the hand of David and by the hand of his servants. And Satan stood up, chapter 21. Satan stood up against Israel and moved David to number Israel. And David said to Joab and to the rulers of the people, "Go number Israel from Beersheba to Dan, and bring the number of them to me, so that I know it." And Joab answered, "Yahweh does add to his people 100 times more than they are, but my master the sovereign, are they not all my master's servants? Why does my master seek to do this? Why should he be a cause of guilt in Israel?" But the sovereign's word was strong against Joab, and Joab left and went throughout all Israel and came to Jerusalem. And Joab gave the sum of the number of the people. It's very early. And Joab gave the sum of the number of the people to David, and all Israel had 1,100,000 men who drew the sword, and Judah had 470,000 men who drew the sword. But he did not number Levi and Benjamin among them, for the sovereign's word was loathsome to Joab. And it was evil in the eyes of Elohim concerning this matter, and he struck Israel. Then David said to Elohim, "I have sinned greatly because I have done this matter. But now I pray, take away the crookedness of your servant, for I have done very foolishly." See, one of the commands throughout the Torah was that they are not to take a census of the people. It is the kingdom is going to grow. The Father is going to bless it. They're going to be fruitful and multiply, but you are not to take a number of the people. Period. So that's why the Father was pissed. Anyways, verse 9. And Yahweh spoke to Gad, David's seer, saying, Go, and you shall speak to David, saying, Thus said Yahweh, I hold 3 options before you. Choose one of them for yourself, and I do it to you. So Gad came to David and said to him, Thus said Yahweh, choose for yourself either 3 years of scarcity of food, 3 moons to be defeated by your foes with the sword of your enemies overtaking you, or else for 3 days the sword of Yahweh, even the plague in the land with the messenger of Yahweh destroying throughout all the borders of Israel. And now consider what answer I am to return to him who sent me. And David said to Gad, I am in great trouble. Please let me fall into the hand of Yahweh, for his compassion is very great, but do not let me fall into the hand of man. And Yahweh sent a plague upon Israel, and 70,000 men of Israel fell. And Elohim sent a messenger to Jerusalem to destroy it. And as he was destroying, Yahweh saw and relented about the evil, and said, The messenger who is destroying, enough, now stop your hand. And the messenger of Yahweh was standing by the threshing floor of Ornan, the Jebusite. And David lifted his eyes and saw the messenger of Yahweh standing between the earth and the heavens, having in his hand a drawn sword stretched out over Jerusalem. And David and the elders, wrapped in sackcloth, fell on their faces. And David said to Elohim, Was it not I who commanded the people to be numbered? I am the one who has sinned and done evil indeed, but these, the sheep, what have they done? Let your hand, I pray, O Yahweh, my Elohim, be against me and my father's house, but not against your people to be plagued. And the messenger of Yahweh commanded Gad to say to David, that David should go up and raise a slaughter place to Yahweh on the threshing floor of Ornan the Jebusite. So David went up at the word of Gad, which he had spoken to in the name of Yahweh. And Ornan turned and saw the messenger, and his 4 sons with him hid themselves, and Ornan was threshing wheat. And David came to Ornan, and Ornan looked and saw David, and he went down from the threshing floor and bowed down to David with his face to the ground. And David said to Ornan, Give me the site of the threshing floor, so that I build a slaughter place to Yahweh on it. Give it to me at the complete price, so that the plague is restrained from the people. And Ornan said to David, Take it for yourself, and let my master, the sovereign, do what is good in his eyes. See, I shall give you the cattle for the ascending offerings, and the threshing implements for wood, and the wheat for the grain offering. I give it all. And sovereign David said to Ornan, No, but I shall certainly buy it at the complete price, for I do not take what is yours for Yahweh, nor offer an ascending offering without cost. And David gave Ornan 600 shekels of gold by weight for the place. And David built there a slaughter place to Yahweh, and offered ascending offerings and peace offerings, and called on Yahweh. And he answered him from the heavens by fire on the slaughter place of the ascending offering. And Yahweh commanded the messenger, and he returned his sword to its sheath at that time. When David saw that Yahweh had answered him on the threshing floor of Ornan the Jebusite, he slaughtered there. For The dwelling place of Yahweh and the slaughter place of the ascending offering which Moshe had made in the wilderness were at that time at the high place in Gibeon. But David was unable to go before it to inquire of Elohim, for he was afraid of the sword of the messenger of Yahweh. In chapter 22. David then said, "This is the house of Yahweh Elohim, and this is the slaughter place of the ascending offering for Israel." And David commanded to gather the sojourners who were in the land of Israel, and he appointed stonemasons to cut hewn stones and build the house of Elohim. Oh, goodness. And David prepared large quantities of iron for the nails of the doors of the gates, and for clamps, and more bronze than could be weighed, and cedar trees beyond number for the Sidonians, and those from Sor brought much cedar wood to David. And David said, "Solomon my son is young and tender, and the house is great to be built for Yahweh." Oh, the house that is to be built for Yahweh is to be exceedingly great for a splendid name. To all the lands, please let me take preparation for it. So David made extensive preparations for his death, before his death. He also called for his son Solomon and commanded him to build a house for Yahweh Elohim of Israel. And David said to Solomon, "My son, as for me, it has been in my heart to build a house to the name of Yahweh my Elohim. But the word of Yahweh came to me, saying, You have shed much blood and have fought great battles. You do not build a house for my name, because you have shed much blood on the earth in my presence. See, a son is to be born to you who is a man of rest, and I shall give him rest from all his enemies all around, for Solomon is his name. And peace and rest I give to Israel in his days. He does build a house for my name, and he is to be my son, and I am to be his father, and I shall establish the throne of his reign over Israel forever. Now my son, Yahweh be with you. Then you shall prosper and build the house of Yahweh your Elohim, as he has said to you. Only let Yahweh give you wisdom and understanding, and command you concerning Israel, so that you guard the Torah of Yahweh your Elohim. Then you shall prosper, if you guard to do the laws and right rulings which Yahweh commanded Moshe concerning Israel. And be strong and brave, do not fear, nor be discouraged. See, in my affliction I have prepared for the house of Yahweh 100,000 talents of gold, and 1,000,000 talents of silver, and bronze, and iron beyond measure. For it is plenty, and I have prepared timber and stone, and you shall add to them. And with you there are many workmen, hewers and workers of stone and timber, and all types of skilled men for every kind of work. Of gold and silver and bronze and iron, there is no limit. Rise up and do, and Yahweh is with you." And David commanded all the rulers of Israel to help Solomon his son, saying, "Is not Yahweh your Elohim with you? And has he not given you rest all around? For he has given the inhabitants of the land into my hand, and the land has been subdued before Yahweh and before his people. Now, give your heart and your being to seek Yahweh your Elohim, and rise up and build a set-apart place of Yahweh Elohim, to bring the ark of the covenant of Yahweh and the set-apart vessels of Elohim into the house that is to be built for the name of Yahweh." All right. Tomorrow is chapter 23. Shalom.